Yes, there are wide range of functions are available. Before we diving into all those DAX functions, right? We'll briefly discuss the concept of evaluation context. This is an important concept. If you wanted to master DAX, you need to be familiar with the evaluation context. Okay, this is the fundamental building block, okay, for the DAX functions. So what is evaluation context? Anybody has any idea? It refers to the set of filters that are applied to your DAX expression when it is computed or calculated. Set of filters. So when I say filters, what comes to your mind? Something like your slicer. Using slicer, you can apply the filter, and you have a filter pane. From there, you can apply the filters. Apart from this, are there any other filters that are applied to a DAX expression? That we will say it as part of evaluation context. The environment, and also, right, the other meaning for evaluation context is the environment in which a DAX formula is calculated. Okay. So filters can be defined by slicers, report filters, or explicit measures. Remember that understanding and managing evaluation context is crucial for accurate and meaningful data analysis. So, all right, now let us move on to the evaluation context. Let's first understand, what is evaluation context is available. Sorry, what is evaluation context is all about. Okay, look at this one. This is my measure, sum of sales amount. Sum is a DAX function. So you want to find out the total sales. So this is what we are doing it here. So the sum function, it computes the total on the sales amount column, and the output of this total sales amount will get stored in this variable. So this is your measure. Okay. Now, what is big deal about this? So now what I'll do is I'll just go to the DAX here, and I will show you what exactly is happening. I'm going to click on the table visual. I'm going to use another table visual. I'm going to keep one more thing here. And if you see here, I'm going to drop the sales column here. So what you can see here, you can see the total sales here. So why it is giving the sales here? If I see the column name, it is just sales. Did we do any sum on the sales column? No, right? But by default, the Power BI, it applies the sum function, the aggregate function, which is a sum function, that is the one applied on the numerical column. That, how do you know that? When you drag and drop any numeric column into a table visual or somewhere, right, you will find the total value for that column. So I'm going to increase the font size here. I'm going to select this one here. Yeah, here also I'm going to put this one. So the moment when I drop the sales column from the sales W04 table, we can see total sales only displayed here. Okay. Okay, what is the big deal now? So we are going to look at the evaluation context. You need to understand the evaluation context. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a category column here. I'm going to select this visual, and here I'm going to drop another categorical column called segment. The total value, if you notice here, in both the cases, the total remains same. The total remains same. But the moment when I drop a text column, important the categorical column like segment or category, what happens? It gives me a breakdown of the sales by segment. Here in this visual, we can see that the we can see a breakdown of sales by category. In each category, put how much total sales we made. That is what we can see it here, isn't it? Did I write any DAX function or any function to give the breakdown of sales by category or segment? No, I did not write anything. Simply, I just dropped the sales column in both these visuals, the table visuals. And when I dropped the sales column into this visual, I could see that the total sales for the entire data set was calculated, and we could see that one, right? The moment when I dropped the text column along with this, I could see that it gives me a breakdown of the text column by sales, right? Sales by the text column, which is nothing but the categorical column, the category column. Even segment is a categorical column. Please ignore the blank value. I think there is some problem with the data. So here, if you go here in the sales column, I'll just show you here. I just show you here. Where is the category column? No, in the segment column, we could see some blank value. I just go here. And then, but here I don't see any blank value. Okay, we are seeing some kind of blank value. We will check it out later. Okay. So, it is the total sales is an implicit measure, fine. But the breakdown, how it is giving it. It is not because of the implicit measure. Even if I create an explicit measure also, it is giving me the totals. It's good that you brought that point. For example, I just go here and then I just copy pasted it. And then in the previous session, we have created the total sales, right? A measure. If I click on it, look here, the total sales, M1. In this measure, I have used some function. Now what I will do is, instead of, I'm going to, drag and drop this one along with that. Even if I drag and drop the explicit measure, it gives me the sales breakdown by segment here, isn't it? Whether it is an implicit or explicit measure, it gives me the breakdown or the sales breakdown by segment here. The same thing is applicable here. So if I drag and drop it here, this one, the same. You can see the same thing here. So how it is possible? How it is possible? It is possible because of the relationship that we created in the table. Okay, the relationship which we created in the table. In this case, okay, I don't have the multiple tables. Let's say you have multiple tables are there. Anyhow, I have another data set. Let me do one thing. I will just go here, EXDemo, and here, if you see here, the fact sales is there, dim product is there. Okay, we will look at this one. Okay, instead of that example, I'm quickly create these two visuals. The fact sales, I have the sales amount column. Sales amount column is there. It gives me the total sales. It gives me the total sales here. Okay, the moment when I drop the customer dimension table or the product dimension table, product name, it gives me the sales breakdown by product. Similarly, in this case, if I drop the location name here, it gives me the sales breakdown by location. But initially, when I dropped the sales column, it was showing the total sales is 456K, that's all. But the moment when I dropped the categorical column, two different categorical column, it gave me different breaks up, right? The breakdown. So the sales amount by this is the breakdown of sales amount by location name, breakdown of sales amount by product name. It happened automatically. In this case, these two columns are coming from two different tables. This is because of the relationship. We have already created the relationship between the product table and look here, the product table and the fact table, fact sales, and then the location dimension table to fact table. If you remove the relationship, you will not get this one. it is doing the filtering. How many of you remember when I explained the filtering concept as per data in the data modeling? If you remove this filtering, the link, right? If you remove the filtering, it will not do the filtering. The automatic filtering, right? The breakdown is possible because of the relationship. For example, I'm going to remove the location name. Yes, Joe, you are correct. Data modeling, I have demonstrated this, correct. If I go here, look here, it shows the total sales value across all the locations. Since there are no filter is available, no relationship exists between these two tables. These two are two different tables. This is different from this one, right? This one comes from my location table. This one, this one comes from my location table, and the sales amount comes from my factor, but there is no relationship existing between these two tables. I just go back here, and then I'm going to create the relationship based on the location key between these two tables. And if you go back here, we can see the breakdown is happening currently. So this is because of the relationship. So what will happen is, I just help you, recollect what we discussed about data model, right? So in this case, the first city in your location dimension table, right? The corresponding location key will be passed to your fact sales table. And then let's say here, BLR key is there. All the BLR Bangalore related records will get grouped, and then the sum function will apply it on top of that sales amount column, and then it gives you the aggregated value, right? Similarly, it goes to the second record. It filters all the records related to Chennai in the sales fact sales table, and then it applies the sum on that column. Finally, it gives me the total. But if you look at the total, both the table, the total values are same, but the breakdown is different. I did not write any DAX function to give the breakdown of sales by product or location. Even if you put some other categorical column, it gives you the breakdown of that text column by that text column, right? How is this possible? How is this possible? Because of the relationship. Here also we can see that for each row, we can see different values, right? Though the total value is same, the row wise, if you see, compare the values here, it is completely different here. So how do we get different values on each row? How do we get different values on each row? This is because of the evaluation context. This is because of the evaluation context. The environment in which a DAX formula is evaluated in. Okay, in this case, this DAX formula is evaluated based on the location name. In this case, the DAX formula sales amount, sum of sales amount, right? That is evaluated by the product name. Okay, there are two types of evaluation context. One is the row context, other one is filter context. What is row context? We already discussed about row context. What is row context? What is row context? What is row context and what is filter context? So yeah, we have, if you do the search in the net, you will find row context, filter and query context. So right, in a calculated column, the calculation is done row by row. You remember, we discussed about the difference between the calculated column and measure. In the case of calculated column, the calculation is done row by row. Okay, that is what your row context evaluated whenever an expression iterates over a table. And apart from this, we have seen the SUMX function. SUMX function is also was also doing the row by row iteration. That is what we discussed in the last session. The row context exists in a calculated column iterating DAX function. That is what I discussed just now. And row context does not propagate through relationship automatically. The row context, it does not propagate. What do you mean by propagate? Pass the values automatically through relationship. So in this case, what happened? The filter context is happening. In the case of filter context, it propagates the value from your location table to fact sales table automatically. Please understand this. Even in the case of product dimension, it propagates the product key, product ID from here to here. Okay, but in the this is with respect to filter context. If you have the relationship created between the tables, it does the filtering automatically. You don't have to write any DAX function explicitly. That is the beauty of DAX. That is the beauty of Power BI. Even in Excel, you cannot do this one. But in the case of row context, for example, you create a calculated column, and in the case of calculated column, it doesn't propagate the relationship automatically. For example, you have the fact sales table. You have the fact sales table. Look here, this is the fact sales table. In this table, you have the cost price. Where is the cost price? This is the cost price. This cost, let's assume that this cost price is coming from your, this cost price is not there in your table. If you want to bring this cost price from your other dimension table called product dimension, you need to use some other function. It will not bring the cost price automatically here, right? So you need to use a related function or lookup value function in order to bring the cost price for every product that you have it in your, for the corresponding products, you have it in a product ID, corresponding product ID. If you want to bring in the cost price from your product dimension table, you need to use another function called related function, or you need to use something else called lookup value function. So yes, Pooja asked one question. Won't context calculation done row by row? Yes, row. In the case of calculated column, for example, you want to take a product on quantity and price. It is doing row by row iteration. Each and every row, it has to go and pick up the quantity and the corresponding price. Because each and every transaction, the quantity and price may not be same. Hence, it has to go row by row, and it has to take the quantity and price for each and every row. It has to do the aggregation. And when we use aggregate is filter context. Okay, you're trying to say something. Okay, this is for measures. Yeah. So I'm talking about, yes, row context is row by row. In simple term, the filter context is, with respect to relationship, it is happening, the filter. Okay. So the row context iterates the table, but it does not do filtering. It does not do filtering. You need to remember this. And row context does not do the filtering. When you create a calculated column, it does not do the filtering. Well, like I said, in the case of product ID, if I wanted to know the cost price, which is available in my product dimension table, it will not do the filtering automatically. Though the relationships are existing, right? You cannot get it automatically. Okay. Hence, row context iterates the table. It does not do filtering. First of all, we don't have direct relationship exists between the product dimension, and yeah, we have the direct relationship exists in product and fact sales. But still, in the case of row context, right? For example, you want to multiply the quantity by the cost price instead of the list price. The cost price is not available here. It is available in product dimension. Though you have created a relationship between these two, in the case of calculator column, it does not do the filter. It does not do the filtering it. Okay, it does not go and pick up automatically. We need to explicitly use the related function. There is something called related function, which I will discuss it little later. Okay. So next one is the filter context. What is filter context? What is filter context? It is a set of filters applied to the data model before evaluation of a DAX system is started. Okay, one or more applied in a calculation to determine a value. Pooja, hold on. Okay, I will explain further. You'll be able to understand. So everything you cannot understand when they give you the headlines, right? Then similarly, wait for some time. One or more applied in a calculation to determine a value. Filter can be applied using visuals and DAX. So these are the things. When can we apply the filter to a table? When will you apply a filter to a table? How will you apply a filter to your visuals? How many of you remember that? In the case of data visualization, I explained you can use a slicer visual or you can use a filter pane. Is there any other way filter can be applied to an expression or to an expression? Yes, we can use the DAX function. Using DAX function, we can add a filter. You can add a filter to your expression. Okay. So if the filter can come from your slicer visual or the filter pane also, it can come and can be applied using visuals and DAX. Okay, visuals. If I apply the visuals, for example, if I go back here and if I select Chennai, and what happens? It got filtered, right? So in Chennai, what products, how much we sold, and how much total sales we made in each product, we can do that. This is called your cross highlighting. You remember? So in the case of table, what is happening? These two are table visual. In this case, what is happening? It is doing the cross filtering. Only the relevant values are getting displayed. For example, if I select Delhi, so now for this visual, the filter is coming from this visual. In Delhi, what are the sales breakdown by product name? In Hyderabad, what are the sales breakdown by product name? You can see that. Are you able to understand? Let's go step by step. Okay, don't worry. We know very well that we can apply the filter using slicer and filter pane. Now you learn a filter can be coming from, can be applied using visuals also. In this case, I've used the table visual, using which also I can apply the filter. Okay, what are the other things we can do it? And DAX also, using a DAX function also, you can apply a filter to a visual, specific visual. Okay, one or more applied in a calculation to determine value. Same thing, DAX function, using DAX function, you can apply one or more filter in a calculation to determine a value. Forget about this theory. Okay, you may get confused. Don't worry, I will explain you. So I'm not going to talk about this now because you are getting confused. Wait. You need some time to understand, and because you don't have experience, that's the reason why it is difficult to understand. Now I explain you with this example. Hope you'll be able to understand. There is something called initial filter context. Okay, so this is my location name and this is my sales amount. Concentrate here. Okay. So what is this highlighted value tells us? What is this highlighted value? So here I highlighted this value in the red colored rectangle. So what this value tells us? This value 7,986 as a filter context for the city Hyderabad. For the city Hyderabad. Okay, this value as a filter context for the location Hyderabad. That is what it tells us. This is what called your initial filter context. The initial filter context for the highlighted cell is only coming from the rows in the matrix. This is your matrix or table, okay? From location equal to Hyderabad. The initial filter context is only coming from the rows in the matrix from location equal to Hyderabad. So far we understood using slicer, we can filter the visuals. Using filter pane, we can apply a filter to the visual. And also a while back we have seen using a visual also we can apply a filter to, we can apply a filter. Is that clear, all of you? Are you all clear with this? These three type of filters so far I discussed. Apart from this, we have initial filter context. How many of you clear on this one? So Deepa, Deepika, and Sri, you're good. How about others? How about Pooja says yes. How about others? Raja, what happened to Raja? Raja or Deepika, what happened to you all? So slicer, the filter, you can apply a filter to a visual using your slicer. Filter pane also you can do that. And using visual also you can apply the filter. Now, row level also it applies a filter. Row level also it applies a filter. How many of you guys remember? I think most of you forgot this concept, right? In the data modeling, I discussed about this. So this is your, let's say BLR, CHN, right? And this is your sales table. And in Bangalore, yesterday one sale happened. In Chennai, today one sale happened. In Delhi one sale happened today. And 2 days back in Bangalore, one transaction. Delhi also one transaction happened. Here you have, this is your master table. It's kind of a dimension table. Yeah, it's a location dimension table. Here you have for each city only one record is there. Once you create the relationship between these two tables based on the common column, the filtering happens automatically, right? In the filtering, this record will get propagated because you have created the relationship between the common column. Let's this is the key, right? Location key. L key is the location key. L key is the location key. There's a column name for this. So once you create the relationship, this is one side, this is the many side. Okay. So what happens is the Bangalore record or the value will get propagated, which is nothing but passed to this table. And once the value comes here, it will filter, it apply the filter on this sales data set. Wherever the Bangalore records are there, it will get grouped. All the Bangalore record will get grouped. For example, on this day, the amount spent was 100, 200. So 100 plus 200, 300. It applies the sum. So each row level also filter is happening. Kolkata, how much sales we made out of the total sales. And Mumbai, see, actually what happened, this is what is happening behind this. And once you, this is possible because you have the relationship exists between the tables. So to summarize, using slicer, we can apply the filter. Using filter pane, we can apply. Using the visuals also, we can apply the filter. Using DAX function also, we can apply the filter. That I'll show you a little later. And row level also, the filtering is happening. Row level also, look here, the first row, it goes here because you created the relationship. Data modeling is a basic concept, okay? Bangalore record will do. So the moment when it goes here, it automatically groups all the Bangalore record because the transaction table, and then you have to apply sums on the total sales or average or something like that. Okay, some aggregation function, apply the default aggregation sum. The next one is, let's you have another. So Delhi, you have two records. In Delhi, someone purchased 50, and then it goes to the second record and third record. When it goes to the third record, Delhi will be passed here, Delhi key, and all the Delhi related records will get grouped. For example, here Delhi, Delhi, and 50 and 50 here. So it groups these records, and then it applies the sum on this one, 50, 50 is 100. So finally, the aggregated value, so Delhi is 100 or something like that, okay? That is how it works. So row level also filtering is happening. The filter comes from row level. Okay, what is that? Deepika, you're saying it? Yeah, it is pretty clear. Okay, fine. Okay. So the initial filter context for the highlighted cell is only coming from the rows in the matrix from the location name Hyderabad. Similarly, if I ask you, what is the initial filter context? Well, the initial filter context coming from the rows in this matrix for the location Mumbai. In Mumbai, what is the total sales? That is what is happening. Visually also we can see it here. Look here, this is my location table. This is my sales table. Can you all see it here? This is my fact sales. This is my location dimension. And here we have created the one-to-many relationship. What is happening? And let's say, in this case, the Hyderabad. We are talking about Hyderabad. So when it comes to Hyderabad, so in the location key, the location dimension table, the Hyderabad key will be passed here. All the Hyderabad related records are grouped here. All the Hyderabad related records are grouped here, and then it applies sum on the Hyderabad related transaction and gives you the Hyderabad 7,986. This is what is happening here. 7,986. Is it clear? Okay, majority of but why initial? What do you mean by why initial? This is the initial filter context, right? This is the basic initial context, right? See, we did not do anything here. We didn't, did I use any slicer? No, right? I did not use any slicer. I did not use any filter context in a filter pane. I simply dragged and dropped. The moment you drag and drop it, what filter is applied? This is the initial filter. That's why it's called initial filter. Got it? Yeah. Good. That's a good question, actually. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What is the initial filters context? Ask more questions like this. So what is the initial filters context for this particular cell? Now you tell me what is the initial filter context for this particular cell. So as usual, the same thing, right? There is no rocket. In the row context, from the row level, where the location is Hyderabad, it is applying the filter. And at the same time, in the column level also, it is applying. In Hyderabad, you group all the records in Hyderabad, but out of the Hyderabad records, you take the subset of dairy related sales. In Hyderabad, in dairy category, how much sales we made? Is it clear? Now you understood row level, column level also, the filter is happening automatically. All of you, I hope all of you are clear, right? Yes, majority said, okay, fine. Those cannot understand, watch my video again. Okay, don't worry, okay. The highlighted cell showing 5351 as a filter context for the location Hyderabad and the product category of dairy. That is what we can see there. So now, what are the set of filters that can be applied? You can a visual. So what are the what are the filters that can be? What are the possible filters that can be applied on a visual? I refine my question. Slicer. Using a slicer, you can apply filter. You can use a filter pen. You can apply it. You can use a visual to apply the filter. You can use a DAX function also apply a filter. But the initial filter context is by default, right? The row and column also. The filtering is coming here. So out of the 4,03,000, how much sales we made in dairy category in Hyderabad? Good. So now you tell me, so what is the initial filter context for this particular cell? I have used the slicer here. What is the, what are the filters? What are the filters applied in this case? What is the initial filter context for this particular cell? The 200, right? The highlighted cell showing 200. It has a filter context for the location Bangalore, where the product ice cream and the month is August. In this case, the filter is coming from outside of this one, right? So here the row column plus the slicer also it is coming here. Okay, ideally, right, the initial filter context is for this row and column, but the external filter is your slicer. Okay. And the same thing we can visualize it in the data model here. I have three tables here, right? So here the location table has all the locations in it. And then the product dimension has the product name in it. And then the August month comes from calendar table. It requires these many number of tables, right? So here in this case, in the location Bangalore, the location Bangalore only gets filtered in this table. That Bangalore will be sent here. And then the ice cream only sent here and August month filter. So with the combination of these three conditions, where clause, right, in SQL, the where clause you write, right, where location equal to Bangalore and product equal to ice cream and the month equal to August. In the where clause, if you write it, it will select only the records that are related to that filtering condition. Is that clear? So three filters. Very good, Pooja, right? Yeah, you are correct. Three filters are coming here. Okay. So what do you mean by filter context index? How many types of filter contexts are there? All of you please respond like Pooja, so that you don't have to revisit again. You don't have to spend time prepare for this. So what do you mean by filter context? How many types of filter contexts are there? What is filter context? We apply set of filters, right? When we are applying filters on the set of values of columns or tables using DAX collection, that is known as filter context. So in a DAX system, which one will execute first, filter context or row context? What do you mean by four filter context? I did not get. So in DAX, which one will execute first? Filter context. It applies the filter context. See, like in SQL, everywhere, right? The filter will get applied first. Remember that. It's something like you have 1 million records. Out of the 1 million records, let's say in your filter condition, you mentioned where city equal to Mumbai. So Mumbai, you recently started your business, or you have less number of records. Again, out of 100 million records, you pull only 3 million records. Number of records are less. And then if you do the sum of sales, it makes sense, isn't it? Instead of doing this way, if you do it other way around, what will happen? First, you do sum of sales on the 100 million records, and then you take only Mumbai sales. That is not the right way of doing it. So hence, remember that the filter context will get applied first, and then only the row context will get applied. This is common in SQL tuning also, right? SQL query also. What is the difference between evaluation context and filter context? Filter context is a type of evaluation context. That's it. What is applied as part of the filter context? A row level, column level, slices, filters, on-screen visuals, calculate function. All these things we discussed. Is it clear? This is very important. This is very clear. So in the matrix, the filter comes from row level, column level, and the slice is also right. We can apply the filters for a visual. What are the possibilities that filters can be applied, right? So the filters, on-screen visuals, calculate function. If you are clear, you have crossed almost 35% of the DAX. Okay. Yeah, how many ways? Yeah, your understanding is how many ways we can apply filter. Correct. DAX, visual, pane, and visualization. Yeah, visuals, and also calculate function. I'll show you now the calculate function. How we do that? Okay. So you are correct. Your understanding is correct, Pooja. Others, yes. Shri's question is, what is DAX function? That I will show. Shri, wait. Okay. I'll show. If I show everything now, you will get confused. Okay. Let's go step by step. Okay, difference between implicit and explicit filter. So we know what is the difference between, right? But by default, all the numeric columns or the sum function, the sum aggregator function is used. When you drag and drop any numeric column into visual, it gives you the sum of sales or sum of quantity. So what is query context? We have something else called query context. The combination of row and filters create a final query for your DAX. That is what your query context. The final output, right? After applying the filter context and row context, the final output, that is what your query context. Is it possible to use filter context along with the row context? Yes, that is possible. When we have a question like, which one will get applied first, filter context, row context? Filter context will be applied, and then the row context will be done, right? So the same, right? The same thing is applicable. Is it possible to use filter along with the row context? Yes. So for this question, the answer lies in the previous question, right? Okay, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? Now, what I will do is I just go to the. Is it possible to use filter context along with the row context? Further, to demonstrate that, I just go here. I go here, and then what I will do is you have the sales amount column. Okay, already it is there. What I am going to do is I'm going to create a new column now. See, currently I'm in data view. I have selected fact sales table. In the fact sales table, I clicked on sales amount. I'm just saying that, okay, now what I do is I just click on new column. You don't have to click on it here. Just, I'm going to do sum on the sales amount column. So here, I'm going to do one thing here. Here, I'm going to say total sales, something like that. Okay, and here, sum of sales amount. So this column is already there. Okay, we have used it some, like I'm going to use 22 or something like that. So what is happening here? 456148. If I go back here, total sales, the total sales got repeated across the rows. I have used the sum function here. When I use the sum function, it is, yeah, in this case, how many number of records are there? We have 92 records, right? So for the 92 records, the total sales was, this is the one, 456148. That is what it shows. But this is not the right way of doing it, isn't it? So each and every row, I want to see the, total sales here. So it is, see, in this case, we are in the data view. So this is a calculated column. This is not a measure. Remember this. In the case of calculated column, it is applying, it is supposed to apply the row context, right? Yeah, calculated column should not be used as an aggregate, rather at row level. Why? Why you are not supposed to use it? So I'm going to use calculate here. Yeah, circular. Okay. In this case, okay, sales sum. Okay, okay. In this case, what I'm doing is, since it's a circular dependency, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use. How many of you remember what is circular dependency? I explained you in the last session, right? So I'm going to use some x of fact sales, comma. For example, list price is there, list price into quantity. If you use a derived column, see, first of all, the sales amount was a derived column. If you use a derived column and if you try to create another column, that is called your circular dependency in simple term. In this case, the fact sales, the list price and quantity are not a derived column. It's not a derived column, isn't it? These two are not a derived column. These two columns are already available in the table. It's not created new one, right? This is not a new columns. New columns which we created was sales amount by multiplying these two columns. Now what I do is I just use SUMX function, and here sum of sales amount, and then I'm going to, sorry, not the sum of sales amount, sorry, the SUMX is an iterator function, hence you need to use the table name as a first argument, and then you close this. If I press enter, now you will not get that error, the circular dependency. In this case, even in the previous case, sum of sales amount, it was not giving any error. But when I try to use the calculate function, I'm going to use calculate function. Look here, even in this case, it gives me the total sales across the rows. What happened? I have used the calculate function, it has gone. Again, what happened? Okay, the list price was the derived column, right? That is the problem. Okay, okay. So that is the problem here. So list price, was it a derived column? No, right? And quantity, how I got this one, list price. I will remove this. This is nowhere related. Anyhow, for the sake of, here also use the SUMX function. Yeah, the total sales one. List price and quantity is nowhere related. Let me do one thing. I'm going to remove this column also. Yeah, this is the one. It's correct only. List price into quantity. So here a circuit was deducted and fax sales 22. Total sales 22. Okay. Somewhere I think I use the same thing. That's the reason why it is causing this problem. I will just remove this. Yeah, here I mentioned total sales calculate. I think because of this, it is causing the problem. Total sales calculate. Look here. Here I have used it, right? For the previous batch, I gave the demo here. Since I've already used this one, it is causing that problem. Ideally, I should have removed this one. Now that is gone. Okay. Now I'm going to create a new column. Fax is column 6 and fax is measure calc sales. Oh, there is something measure calc columns. Another column is there. So this is another column. That is the problem. So look here. Instead of this one, okay, I just remove this one. So many demo I gave it. The same thing I use it for many batches. Now no error. Good. Here, what is happening here? If I remove calculate, what is going to happen? It is going to each and every row and it picks up the list price and quantity. And then it applies the sum on this entire row, right? Sum X. Here, see here I made a mistake here. Okay, this is the quantity column. So in this case, what happened? The sum X function iterates each and every row. Right, to evaluate, and then it evaluates this expression each and every row, and then it finds out the total sales for this one, right? For each and every row, what happens? It iterates the entire table, and then it gives me the sum of the total sales. Okay, the sum X function is not actually applying the filter count. There is no filter context applied here. The total sales 22 is your calculated column. In the case of calculated column, what happens? The sum X function is iterating row by row. It calculates the total sales for the entire row for each and every row. So here there is no filter context is applied. That is where when I use calculate function, the calculate function is very much helpful to transition your row context to filter context. Look here, if I press enter, look here. So now you remember, so the filters are coming from row level, column level, and slicer, visuals, filter pane, DAX function. Also the filter is coming. Okay. So the calculate function is helpful here in terms of transitioning your row context to your filter context. So we can use filter context along with the row context. That is what we can. So in this case, this is a classic example. Here I have applied the filter context along with the row context. Row context is also happening. Each and every row it goes and then it multiplies and also it filters that. Okay. So it is possible. Okay. Filter context in simple term, it filters the data. It does not iterate. Whereas the row context iterates the table, but it does not do filter. But it is possible to apply the filter context along with the row context. So hope you understood what is evaluation context. What is evaluation context? Before evaluating the expressions, right, it applies the set of filters. It applies this, set of filters on your calculation, right? And then only it is doing the actual calculation. The evaluation context is the context that modifies the value of your DAX expression, quantity into list price. In that case, what happened? When I used the calculate function, it applied the filter context, right? So it applied the filter context. That is what is happening. So the evaluation context we discussed, right? It has two types in it, the row context and the filter context. So they both can coexist and they are present for all the formulas. Okay. The DAX creates a row context automatically when it creates the row context automatically when you use the calculated column. That is what we discussed. We can also create a row context programmatically using iterator function. That is what I've shown you with the SumX function. The previous session I've shown you using SumX function in your measure. You can iterate a table row by row. Okay, and also you can nest the row context in the case of earlier function. There is something called earlier function. The earlier DAX function is useful to get access to the previous row context. Okay, that we will see it later. Okay, and apart from this, we have seen that the DAX creates filter context when we use a matrix or a table by using fields on rows and columns, slices and filters. Remember this, okay? And remember this very well. The row context does not propagate through relationship automatically. Only the filter context propagate it does the filtering automatically, whereas row context does not propagate through relationship automatically. That we will see it with another example little later. Yes, Pooja. Okay, it needs some time to absorb this. We'll go through it again. Good. But a simple thing you remember, the context they talk, right? It is it's a kind of a fancy word. Okay. So filter the data, right? If you want to, you can by applying the filter is coming from row, column, slicer, filter pane, visual, and DAX function. Also, it is happening. When I explain calculate function, you will be able to understand. Don't worry, okay? So it does not iterate. So up to this, you understood, right? The visual level filter, the filters are coming from visual. The sources of filter for a visual or the slicer and row level, column level, filter pane, and visual level. Apart from this, the only thing is the calculate. I will show you little later. Don't worry. Next one is the filter functions. Filter functions, which is nothing but the set of functions that are available. These are the most popular functions, and you should be knowing, these functions. This is very important functions. We have something called calculate function, calculate table, filter. So without further ado, we'll just jump into understanding what is calculate function. The calculate function is a very simple function. Which one? The calculate function. But it does a lot of complex things. It is one of the most dynamic functions. So it can help us to add deeper insights to our reports. This is one of the important functions. In the interview, when they ask you, okay, and what are the DAX functions that you use, you tell them without fail you have used calculate. They are screening you. They want to see how good are you in DAX. At least did you know the basic, did you really work on the DAX functions or not. If you say calculate, that gives a good impression to them. So essentially the calculate function, it allows us to change the context of the calculation within a measure. Okay. That is what we can do it with the help of the calculate function. So the calculate function allows us to change the context of a calculation within a measure, wherein the context is determined by the environment in which your calculation is performed. That is what you need to remember it. Okay, we will start with one simple example. Look here. So I just first walk you through the syntax for the calculate function. The first argument is your expression. This is mandatory. Okay, and second one is your filters. Okay, filter. You can apply multiple filters, but it is all optional. Okay, the filter can be Boolean filter, or it can be a table filter, or it can be a filter modification functions. You know this one. The Boolean filter, you know very well. So if the city equal to Delhi, that is your Boolean filter. Table filter is you have something called filter function. There is some, there is a built-in function called filter. That is what your table filter is. Modification function, we will see it later. It needs some time for you to understand this one. This is where most of them, they get confused. Don't worry, I will explain it. I'll try to explain in a very simple manner. So the calculate function in DAX, it evaluates an expression in a modified filter context. There are two parts here. One is the aggregation and the filter. The first one is, for example, sum of sales. We are doing sum of sales. And second one is city equal to Hyderabad. Or you can use instead of Boolean expression, right? Instead of Boolean filter expression, you can use filter function. Filter the table name. Your table name is, the fact sales, comma, location is equivalent to, Delhi. Sorry, here it's not the same thing. So city equal to Hyderabad. Here, fact sales. Let's say here product name is equivalent to something like that. Laptop. In Hyderabad, in laptop, how much sales we made. Okay, you can use Boolean expression. You can use a table filter expression also. Or you can, you might be arguing city equal to Hyderabad, comma city equal to, the product name equal to laptop. Can't I give it? Yes, you can give it. Or you can, give, instead of putting it separately, city equal to Hyderabad and the and ampersand, right? And a product equal to laptop, something. You can give it that way also. Okay. So, but remember that the filter function, when you use it, that is called a table filter expression. Boolean filter expression, this one. This calculate function is somewhat similar to your SUMIF function that is available in Excel. Those of you have used SUMIF function, then you will be able to understand how the calculate function. Okay. The next question is, what can we do with calculate? Using calculate function, you can modify the filter context of the expression. We have modified the row context to filter context, right? So in the previous example, and also it can override the already existing filter context with the new one that's been specified with the calculate expression. If your filter context does not exist, it will add a new. See, you can add a new filter context. You can override the existing filter context. You can modify the filter context of an expression using the calculate function. It's very, very dynamic function. That's why they called it as a dynamic function. You can do a lot of things with calculate function. Just give me a second. Now let us start with the simple calculate function. Look here, this is what the calculate function, right? In this case, I've used sum of sales. The first one is your expression. First argument is mandatory. And here I've used the Boolean expression. The sales equals the country equal to UK. This is a pretty straightforward. So in this case, we have introduced a filter context. Filter context. Instead of saying context, you just think filter. Okay. Country equal to, you can UK, what is the total sales? So in this case, it's a Boolean filter. Okay, and the next one is You can use more than one Boolean filter also. That is what is big deal here, right? So, but this is mandatory. You can use sales W0 country equal to United Kingdom, comma, quantities more than 10. So more than one Boolean expression, we can specify it here. And you can also, instead of using Boolean expression, like equals and greater than, you can use filter function also here. This is called a table expression, table filter expression. Okay, this is mandatory, and here the United Kingdom, it's an optional, right? This is an optional filtering criteria. You can either specify the filtering criteria or not. The best practice is use filtering condition. Fine. Next one is the order of evaluation of the DAX functions. Okay, so before that, look here. I just go back here. So in this case, we have the first argument as your expression. Total is a measure. You know very well we can use a measure in another measure. That is what we discussed in the last session also, right? So this measure, I used it in another measure. Again and again, I don't have to do sum of sales. Okay, I've used the measure. And here I use the Boolean filter expression. Now, tell me which one will get evaluated in this calculate function. We discussed already whether row context will get applied first or filter context, right? This is what the filter, this is the one will evaluated first, and then this one will get evaluated last. Why? Why? This is the smart way of doing it. I have 100 million records are there. If I ask you to find out the total sales for those transactions where we made or where the units sold were more than 10. In that case, if you do the total sales on the entire 100 million column, and then if you do the filtering, does it make sense? No, right? That is waste of time. First, what you do is find out, listen, in this case, 10, let's assume that, I put, quantities, listen, quantity is 1,000. So I want to know the total sales for the transactions where we sold, more than 100 quantity, more than 100 quantity. So more than 100 quantity out of 100 million records, right? You can see that, let's say, hypothetically, you have only 1,000 records are there. Out of 100 million, first one take only the 1,000 records that are related to this filtering condition. I just write it here. I just strike it out. So where the units sold is more than 100, it comes around only in 1,000 transactions, customers purchase more than 100 quantities. Okay, let's say hypothetically, okay. So only 1,000 transactions. Out of the 1,000 transactions, if you find out the total sales, it is very simple, isn't it? So this is the best way. So the filter context will be evaluated first, and then this one will get evaluated. You need to know, because from the performance tuning, this is very much important. Whether you are a consultant or any level, now they expect that one. So now you tell me, so look here, in this case, it is simple. In this case, we have two Boolean expression is there. Which one will get evaluated first? The first question was whether the, in this statement, whether the expression will get evaluated first or the Boolean expression will get evaluated. First, it will apply the filter, right? This is called a filter context. First, it will apply the filter context, and then it does the sum. That is how it may, that is how it should work. Even in SQL query, it is happening the same way. Okay. And here we have more than one filter condition. Now you tell me, of these three, which one will get evaluated first? SQL, same as your SQL. This one will get evaluated first. Which one? The inner filtering condition. Okay. And then this one will get evaluated first, and then this one will get evaluated second. And finally, this one will get evaluated. So understanding the evaluation order of the calculate function is also very much important. So here you need to have the domain knowledge. You need to know the domain. Why? See, in this case, irrespective of the filters that you use you start from inside out, right? First, it applies the filter, and then it applies this filter. And finally, it does the total sales. What if, in your case, quantity is greater than 10 is, let's this one comes around, let's say total number of records are 100 million. Total number of records are 100 million total. Out of which, number of units sold more than 10 comes around 1 million. For this filter condition, listen, I put 1 here. For the 1, this is the result set. For this second filtering condition, instead of, let's ignore this one. Let's say you have only this one. In Hyderabad, let's say you hardly have 0.3 million records are there. Because in Hyderabad, let's say you recently started your business. In this case, which one should apply first? Which one should get applied second? Of these two filter conditions, which one should get applied first? Which one should get applied next? All of you, yes, you are correct, right? Deepika, you are correct. Anybody else? Only Deepika answered correctly. Simple common sense. See, if you see, as per the order in DAX, it starts apply the filter, the innermost filter, it applies first, and then the outermost. In this case, this is how it works, fine. But we know the domain, we know the business. In Hyderabad, we started recently, the number of records were 0.3 million only, whereas quantity sold across the region, not only in Hyderabad, across other cities also, we made sales more than 10. So ideally, you need to write this one here, you need to write this one here. Are you all agreeing with me or not? But in that case, I know where Hyderabad list number. First, you take the subset of the data, and then you apply this filter, right? Instead of filtering all the records across the city, you're taking all the records that belongs to all the cities, and then you filter it. That is waste of time, isn't it? So this is the one you need to remember it in your mind when you write an optimal query, DAX query. Okay, remember this. It is just because it is evaluating this way, blindly if you write it, right, and it doesn't make sense. That is the reason why understanding the importance of the evaluation order, right? Understanding the evaluation order is very much important. Okay, the next question is, and let's say I have another scenario. Let's look at this DAX query. Let's look at this DAX query. This is another DAX query. This is different from the previous one. This is different. Okay. And in this case, tell me which one will get evaluated first. In this case, we have something called filter modification function. There is something called all function. This is a filter modification function. Which one? And also we have two Boolean filtering condition. Right. There are two filtering criteria are there. Along with that, we have all function. If you have all is a filter modification function, this is a very beautiful function. Okay. And in this case, only the filter modification function will get evaluated first, and then only, and then this one and this one. Okay. This one will get evaluated first, and then this one will get evaluated. Okay, and then next to this one, right? This one will get evaluated. So 1, 2, 3 in this order it will get evaluated, and finally it will compute the total sales. Something like, I have 100 million records are there, out of which if I take smartly just 1 million record, and then out of which if I find out another filtering, like if that comes around 0.5 million, and then if I do sum of sales, it makes sense, right? For example, here you total number of records, total records, and this is related to your Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, if you say quantity is greater than 10, for those filtering criteria, after you apply this one on the Hyderabad subset of the data, you end up getting only 0.5 million. And then if you apply the sum of sales, it makes sense. But in the case of filter modification, this one will get evaluated first. Okay, I will explain you why little later. Now enough theory. I just go to the Power BI desktop. I'll show you the how to use the calculate function. Before that, we will start explore, what are the ways, we can. So we know very well, if I'm going to click on, I just clicked on the chord visual. When I do the sales, drop it here, very well, right? It gives me the total sales. By default, this is an implicit measure. And I'm going to click on it here quickly. And here I just say total sales. Total sales is the measure that I created it. Look here. Sum of sales. If I drop it here, no, here it is, I'll just make it fact sales. I'm using the wrong file. Okay, quick. I just go back in this only, that table is there. We'll use this table. When you use multiple table, that is always good. And the sales amount. And then in this case, total sales. Fact sales, sales amount. Okay, this is my implicit measure. This is my explicit measure. Correct? You all agree with me. So now what I do is, I just simply copy and paste this. I click on modeling ribbon and select the new measure. And here I paste it. And here what I do is, I'm going to use calculate function here. Okay. You know very well, the first argument for your calculate function is an expression followed by that filter. In this case, I'm not going to use any filter. I just press enter. I'm going to click on this one. Calculate total. Look here. What is the output of this one? Calculator. It's all same, right? Same thing, because we did not apply any filter in the case of calculate thing. And apart from this, we have something called SumX. Do you have SumX? SumX is not total sales. SumX is there. Look at SumX, using which also we can find a row by row iteration. Even in the measure, you can do row by row iteration, right? So don't think a measure is only for aggregation total sales on a column. You can also perform row by row operation. You can iterate row by row, even in the case of measure when you use the iterative functions like SumX. Okay. And here I just click on this one. Total is SumX. If I put, all the values are same. This is implicit measure. This is my explicit measure. In this case, my explicit measure, I used it in my, right? I used it in my calculate function. It shows the same thing. Where is the calculate function? Ideally, I should have used it this way. Okay, total sales and calculate total sales. Calculate total sales. If you go here, see here, instead of using sum again, you can measure, you can use a measure inside another measure, right? So total sales. What is the total sales? That is nothing but the sum of sales amount. Yes. Shri, I'll share this to you all, this file. Okay, don't worry. You need to work on this without file. And in this case, I've used SumX function. There are 4 different ways we can get the total sales. So this is my explicit measure. This is also my explicit measure. This is also my explicit measure. This is my total. This is my implicit measure, right? Sales amount directly comes from my table. And apart from this, we have created any calculated column. Yes, which calculated column we created it? How many of you remember it? Total sales double two. Can I bring it here? Total sales. But even in the case of total sales double two, total sales. Triple two, total sales triple two. This is my calculated column. I just put something note here so that you can refer it. Text box, I clicked it, and here I just put it here. This is my calculated column. 1 second, I just. Yeah, why to here itself we can specify the font size. And when I put it here, you should be able to understand. And also you can find out the name here itself, right? Just beneath this one, you can see the total sales 22. When you click on it, look here, when you open this report file, right? When you click on this, any specific visual, the corresponding column or the calculated column will get highlighted. Look here. If I click on this one, a measure will get highlighted here. Look here, the calculate total sales. That's how we can find which one I use it here. There are 5 different ways you can get the total sales. Okay, this is calculated column. This is the implicit measure, explicit measure, explicit measure. This is also explicit measure. But in this case, it is doing the row by row iteration. Okay, I just click on this one. Now we will understand the filter context, how we can apply filter using a DAX function. Okay, explicit filter. For example, if I select, okay, I will just click on slicer. Here it's a I'll put. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the category column. All the categories put together, what is the sales? If I select dairy, only the dairy sales it shows, right? It shows only the dairy sales. Very good. Okay, not the category. Instead, best thing, right? I'll just use the location slicer. This is what we discussed, right? In Hyderabad. What this is? This is wait. I just in Hyderabad. So all the visuals are getting applied, affected by this one. Okay. And now I'm going to create another measure wherein I'm going to use some filtering condition. I'm going to add some filter context, explicit filter. Here I'm going to use the calculate total sales, comma, pack sales in this location key is equivalent to, I have something like HYD is there, Hyderabad. You need to use double quote, I guess. Yeah. So in this case, you give me the total sales in Hyderabad only. Okay, fine. I just press enter. No error. We wanted to find out how much sales we made in Hyderabad only. Okay. Now I just click on, that's a very simple one, right? I just click on this here, calculate Hyderabad. Yeah, Hyderabad sales. I just drop it here. In this case, what happened? In Hyderabad, right, what are the totals is it shows me. If I select Bangalore, what happens? Everything else gets changed, right? Everything else gets changed. And it is not, I know it is showing nothing. But when I select Hyderabad here, it shows in Hyderabad what the total is. Okay, and Kolkata, there is no sales here. 1 second, I'll just so in this case, okay, I'm going to use the all function. I'm going to use something called all function. This is a filter modification function. I'm going to press enter now. See, I selected Bangalore, still it shows Hyderabad sales only. And when I select Kolkata here, what is happening here? So along with calculate all function, you can apply a filter. You can modify the existing filter context. In this case, when I apply Bangalore filter, all the visuals, it shows the Bangalore related sales, except this one. That means the filter comes from, in this case, it is not a matrix visual. It is just a chord visual. In this case, when I apply the filter on the location Bangalore, all the visual shows Bangalore sales. But this one is not, this one remains constant. It still shows only the Hyderabad sales. In this case, the all function is a filter modification function. The all function, what it does is, no matter what you select, simply ignore it. Whatever the condition that you use it here, Hyderabad sales only will get displayed irrespective of the filter that you applied on this visual. Look here, if you click on this one on top of this, location name in Bangalore, the filter comes from here, right? Bangalore, the filter comes here, but simply ignores it. No, my calculate function has to display only the total sales for Hyderabad. Even if any filter comes from the external, I don't accept it. See, the filter came here, Bangalore. Similarly, if you see here, the Bangalore filter applied on the all the visual. But here, even though the filter came, from the slicer, right, the Bangalore thing, it is not getting affected. It remains as it is. It simply overrides the existing filter. The existing filter is Bangalore. It simply overrides the existing filter. Using calculate function, so right, it can override the already existing filter context with the new one that's being specified in the calculation, along with the all function. Using all function, you can use it separately also, but all function, when you use it along with calculate, you can modify the existing filter. You can override the existing filter context. You can override the existing filter. This is a classic example for this. Okay, she is asking, is there any other example you can show it with the calculate function? Yeah, we will see that. Before that, yeah, you can add multiple conditions also, right? In the same calculate function, you can use multiple conditions. But if I wanted to see only the Hyderabad sales, 1 second, somebody's the function along with your filter modification function is nothing but all. Likewise, we have other filter modification function also available. We will discuss this in the next session. In this case, yeah, in tomorrow's session we'll discuss. Okay. So even though I selected Bangalore, this one is not getting disturbed because of the calculate and all function. That's a filter mode. So you can override the already existing filter context. If the filter context does not exist, it will add a new filter context. In this case, we have added a new filter context. And right, the newly added filter context, what we did, we have, in using the all function, we have overridden the already existing filter context. We, added a new filter context, and also using the all function, we have overridden the existing filter context also. So now the question is why Hyderabad should display it here. So here it shows all the totals. Is why supposing your base location is Hyderabad, your corporate office in Hyderabad, and you want to see in Hyderabad your base location how much sales you are making it. So along with that, you want to compare, right, out of the total sales, you want to compare it the total sales along with your Hyderabad sales. You want to display total sales along with the Hyderabad sales so that you can compare it side by side. Okay, so here 6.14K is there. Okay, this is 7.99K. Let me check whether did I use this one to say fact sales Hyderabad, all fact sales. Okay, this is Bangalore sales, right? Correct, Bangalore sales. So compared to Bangalore sales, so okay, what I will do is I will just clear the filter here. Okay, so even if you clear the filter, you can see that 456K we made in total sale, and Hyderabad sale is this one. And supposing you want to compare the Hyderabad sales with a specific city, you can select Chennai, compared to Chennai, Hyderabad, and Delhi. And if you see here, Delhi is 21, but Hyderabad in general, the sales is not that great. But compared to Kolkata, the Hyderabad sales is good. So that's how we can, that kind of situation. This kind of thing, these are things are very much helpful. Okay. So you can add a filter context. The Hyderabad filter was not there. You have added the filter context, and then and also importantly, you want to override the existing filter context, right? The existing filter. Now, the existing filter context is Bangalore or Chennai. So don't obey this, filter. Okay, look here, the Chennai, but still it remains Hyderabad only. So using calculate function, you can add a filter context, we can modify a filter context, we can do that. But without all function, what happened? So only when you select Hyderabad, it was showing right, and it was not showing by default. For all the cities. When you select any city other than Hyderabad, it was showing 0. Okay. But with the all function, you can override the existing filter context. The all function, you have to use it with the calculate only. But if you use it as a standalone function, the all function, if you use it alone without calculate function, that is helpful to create a new table. It's kind of a clone. You can duplicate a table using all function. There are two purpose. There are two scenarios you can use all function. If you want to duplicate an existing table data, you can use all function. If you want to override the existing filter context, that kind of situation also you can use all function. And apart from this, see, in this case, I've used the all function on the table name itself, all on fact sales, which means ignore all the filter comes from this table. You can either specify a table or you can specify column name. So this we will discuss in tomorrow's session. Yeah, Sri, I understood. Okay, so with this, I'm going to wrap up the session because if I talk too much, it will be overwhelmed. And tomorrow's session, we'll look at all related functions and the remove filter, other things we'll compare it. Fine. Any questions so far, whatever I covered?